everybody, and welcome! Welcome to the Vilcast. This is episode number 17. I can't believe 17 already. And this week we are talking about new animations, new graphics, a lot of new awesome looking stuff. Everybody, I think, is going to like that. But something really that caused a big stir, a big controversy, everything's got to be controversial, is how each race might be a little stronger or weaker than the other. Talking about balancing issues, it might be good or bad. Joining me to talk about this, as always, my favorite Frenchman, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing good?
I'm on the weekend, so I'm great.
That's doing great. It's the weekend. You're doing awesome. And Velik also holding it down for me last episode. I wasn't here. Velik, how you doing?
I'm great.
Great. You're looking real good, man. You're looking like HD quality over there. You got your new webcam.
My other webcam was supposed to be HD, but it never really looked.
It wasn't that kind of HD.
It was like HD.
No, it was HD. Now this one's HD. Awesome. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We're talking about which one was this? This was the Unveiled newsletter number 12. And I guess, Velik, you did an awesome write-up for this on Realms Unchained. You gave us kind of a breakdown of it. Before I just start reading it off, give us a quick idea what it is we're talking about, what the big hoopla was about for this update.
Factions were created by aliens. No.
Right. We're changing the game. It's aliens and lasers. No.
Aliens. No, the basic summary, I guess, for it was some of the factions are going to be a little bit more specialized in different types of tactics. They might be a little bit better in certain strategies and types of attributes than others. Like the Arthurians might be tougher and a little bit more about like defensive, like siege warfare, defensive battles. The Vikings are going to be more offensive, have the highest like burst DPS, and the Tuatha are going to be more like skirmishers, have a lot of magical type things that they can do and be a little bit more of a non-conventional focus.
Yeah, and there was in this newsletter, thank you, Chris, just posted it. If you're watching this on YouTube, we live stream every other Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Chris just posted the link. There's a big, huge, the 12th Unveiled newsletter was huge. I mean, it was like 15 pages long. It was like a book, this thing was. And there's 3 paragraphs right in the middle, and I'm just going to read a little bit about them, Chris, and then I want to see what you think about it. But what got everybody upset was it kind of says where Arthurian classes, for example, just like you said just now, Velik, tend to be tougher to kill than classes of the other realms. Their armor is heavier on average. Their abilities tend to have extra defensive bonuses. Give some more examples. Then it says, in contrast to the Arthurians, the Vikings are more offensive. And then lastly, so each realm is... We already knew they were going to have different classes, but this is almost a holistic, the entire realm. Chris, how do you feel about that, realms being so different in that way?
I'm worried, like a lot of people, about the balancing issue, but I really like that the idea behind that it is a different gameplay depending on the faction. That you have to adapt, and you don't choose your faction just because of that. Because I think a lot of people are upset because they think it's going to be something huge, a huge advantage on one side or the other. Right. I think it's going to be more of a flavoring than a real huge difference. It's more like Arthurians are going to be a bit more tankier, but the difference is they won't be doing as much damages, things like that. But it's still, for me, it's not going to be game changer. It's more going to be a feel of the classes, a feel of the races and the gameplay. That is, Arthurians are. It's also good in accordance to the lore of the game,
right?
Because Vikings are supposed to be the warriors. They're supposed to be the ones that are going to charge in, the berserkers. While the Arthurians are the knights, are the real inspiration of the medieval age, where you had full plate armors. You were hard to kill, but a fight in the Middle Ages, a fight between 2 armored guys, would take many minutes to actually end because the armors were tough, but the damages to them would take a lot of time to actually set in.
And Zero Moss in chat is talking about how they don't really see any controversy here. And I think a lot of people from Dark Age of Camelot, I don't know if Zero Moss was Dark Age of Camelot, that's kind of the way that game worked, though, also made by Mark Jacobs, is each side had their own sort of feel as a part of it. And Arbicus in chat said that you may not even notice this sort of on a lower scale 1v1 sort of situation, right? Because each class is so different anyway. But I think this kind of does change the feeling of your whole realm. And there was a lot of controversy. Some people may not care, but when this first came out, right, Velik? I mean, there was a ton of stuff saying the game is terrible, it's not balanced.
It was a little
PvP's
bit. I think I felt most of it because I wrote up the summary of the article,
Right.
and then I'd commented on it a few places, and so I did get a little bit of backlash from some people that were like, I think this is terrible and it's unbalanced. But see, I also don't think it's an issue. I'm not really worried about it at all because, one, as Chris and as Arbicus and Zero Must said, I don't think it's a thing you're going to see on a micro level. It's not going to be one player fighting another player, and he's going to be like, I'm Arthurian, therefore I'm more tanky, so ha 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 ha, you can't kill me. It's going to be a faction-wide strategy type thing, and I don't even think it's necessarily, it's not necessarily saying that the Vikings can't defend a keep. It's not going to be that impactful. They're going to be able to tank and defend, of course they will. But the Arthurians are going to have a little bit of a slightly easier time of it. And two, I think it's, one, there's always unbalance. No matter what you do, there is unbalance. There's going to be unbalance. The point is to minimize it and to give the players control over it, and that's what I think this does. It says there's going to be imbalance. We're going to decide what type of imbalance there is and give the players control of it. If you go, okay, the Arthurians are just too freaking tanky, we can't deal with it, it's really annoying, then you don't fight them on their battle. You get to go, well, this is what we can do, and we can shift our tactics to cater better towards our own battlefield and go, fine. They want to hang out in that keep, we'll go around them and take everything around them and then laugh at them while they're just sitting in their freaking keep and they can't do anything.
Right. I mean, and that to me is exciting. I like the idea of it being different. What about people, though, who... Because some games, it's a real big shift. Some people in some games, they hate being divided. Like, you have a friend that wants to be offensive, so they want to go Viking. You have another friend that likes to be defensive. He wants to go Arthurian. Is this just another thing they're adding, though, that causes division that makes it...
I don't think so.
Only
when
for
I
the
say flavoring,
serious min-maxers.
yeah. But even for the serious min-maxers, we're talking about things that I think will be rendered almost insignificant with the boons and banes and all the creation stats. I think that's gonna be impacted as well. That means only that in large-scale battles, tactics are going to be different. You won't be able to just mindlessly zerg the distraction. For example, you can't zerg in the Arthurian keep because they might be able to more easily oppose a shield wall to you, a row of tanks that will stop your attack. But if you go there with your own strength, being your DPS or as a TDD, you just set up ambushes. You sap the buildings. You do everything with your own strength. That means battles are, to me, less boring because depending on which faction you fight, the way you fight it, it's gonna be different. So to me, it is also an advantage.
I did want to clarify. When I say the serious min-maxers, I don't mean the people that are serious about the game and about min-maxing their points. I mean the people who are completely anal retentive about it. Like, they're like, I cannot stand that someone else has one more point in strength than I can ever get. Those people, it's going to drive crazy. They won't be able to stand. They're like, I'm going to have to go Arthurian because I want to be as tanky as I could possibly be, and it's going to drive them crazy if they're not Arthurian. For them, it's going to cause a problem. For those people, honestly, I think they need some assistance. I think they might need some help a little bit, but because min-maxing is fine. You want to be powerful. You want to be as strong as you can be. But when the points are to a fairly negligible degree, some people still get upset over that, and unreasonably so. And I think those people are undoubtedly going to have problems with it.
Yeah.
For other people, I don't think the impact is going to be as dramatic that they're going to be like, oh, I can't be a tank because I'm Tuatha. Of course, the Tuatha are going to have tanks. Everyone's going to have tanks.
But if you want to be the tankiest tank, you need to be Arthurian.
If it means
Right.
that much to you, yes.
The tank is tank. You're wearing plate armor. I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I like difference. I like multiple options. I like everything having their own abilities and their own, you know what I mean? You have some games like Guild Wars 2 where there's the set specific classes and there's no different realms, you know what I mean? Like everybody has the same set of classes to pull from, or like ESO, right? There's the 4 classes. I like it when there's lots of variety, you get in a battle and it's like almost chaos, right? It's like all this stuff. What about, I mean, the Tuatha, we're talking about the Tuatha, the Arthurians are more defensive, the Vikings are more offensive, right? They kind of counter each other. The Tuatha, it says in their paragraph here on the update that they're evasive and can fully exploit vulnerabilities they create. They can strike swiftly, disengage. I mean, we're kind of talking two different sides where we're saying, oh, it's going to make a difference, but at the same time, it doesn't really make a difference. If these guys are faster, if these guys run faster than me, that's going to make me mad. If I'm like, I don't know, right? You're in plate armor, so yes, I understand I should run slower. Yeah. But if I'm chasing Chris, he's on this little elf or whatever from Tuatha, and I'm like, I just can never. How's that fun gameplay? I don't know.
Well, one thing it might, that doesn't really describe the details of it. Of course, it might mean out of combat overland speed. What if their out of combat overland speed is a little bit faster, or they have a class that can possibly give them a buff to do that?
Like so a bard or something.
Yeah, to move from keep to keep, they can be like, okay, they've moved over here to attack this place. Now we can shift, run over the east side of the map, and cap it real quick before they get back. So they run over to where the other faction's weak. While they're in combat, they're slowed to the same rate everyone else is because they're in the middle of combat, so they can't obviously run away unless they have like a sprint or something.
Yeah. Right. I don't. I do like the difference. Chris, you were going to say something about my heavy plate wear running slow.
No, it's more like I think they're going to be. It's kind of the strategy you see already happening in some games is when the keep is sieges, the sieging forces are going to be attacked from the sides or from behind by that's going to be probably more like the TDD's way of fighting during a siege battle, less than a frontal assault. But again, I think people are mistaking because we've never seen that before. People are mistaking what has been said with what we see in a lot of other games, which are the racials, which for some of them are pretty significant. Like in, I think in World of Warcraft, I haven't played that game enough to even remember what the racials were really doing. But I know that, for example, in ESO, the racials were pretty important for some things. I think people are thinking racials more than actual flavoring of the gameplay. So that's why they're worried that it's going to cause too much imbalance.
And I think a lot of it's really going to come down to the Banes and Boons, where you have the option to get this extra mobility, but it's going to come at a cost with something. You've got to get Banes to balance it out. You're going to be faster, but you're going to take more critical damage or something,
Right. It's a delicate balance because if they make it where it's meaningful, then it has a consequence. And if they make it so there's no consequences, then it's not really meaningful and people don't care about it. You know what I mean? So it's that really tough balance to say, yes, this Bane or Boon or this, the Arthurians are defensive, where it feels like they're actually defensive, but not so much so that it's game breaking. I mean, thinking about this game is really dependent on sieges, right? I mean, there's going to be open world warfare, lots of that going on, but a lot of it is going to be centered around keeps and castles and fighting and buildings. Who has the advantage there? Defensive person, an offensive person, a skirmisher? Like I feel like the Arthurians have the advantage because they can just turtle up. The Vikings are going to be trying to attack, and then the Tuatha are just going to be skirmishing, like attacking them from behind and just running away. I'm glad I'm an Arthurian. I'm just going to sit back in the keep. I'm going to be drinking. I got my meat. I got my plate armor. Like you can't hurt me. I'm fine.
It's good, but to a certain degree, tactically, it's also bad because they'll be more inclined to want to get rooted. They'll be like, I'm in my keep. I don't want to come out of my keep because then I'm in a disadvantage.
Right, they don't want to attack or something.
But that just lets everyone else roam around them. Everyone else can just move around and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And you don't take territory. You're going to have to attack if you want to have influence.
No.
You're gonna if you it's as simple as that. If you
Otherwise,
total
you're going to
up,
sit in your keep and get hit
yeah,
by both the
exactly.
Vikings and the Tuatha at the same time.
You'll have the biggest, the most defensible island
That's
of the
right.
whole game, but you'll have one
That's right.
island and
I only need
nothing
one.
else.
It's
I only
my
need one.
island.
I only need one. That's all I need. I don't know. I think it's going to be good. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people, I think, will care if it's balanced and properly. But that's the same for any game, right?
Yeah.
People
And
see this and they say, "Oh, that's terrible because it's going to be unbalanced." You could say that about any game if the developers don't balance
Never
it.
balanced.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. We know we've seen in Warhammer Online and also Dark Age of Camelot, they had different classes. They weren't completely mirrored. They were unbalanced. But I think Mark Jacob and team did a pretty good job. Like, yes, there were things like Bright Wizards with Warhammer Online. Like, there were times where stuff is unbalanced, but it happens in every game. Guild Wars 2 has mirrored everything. And stuff can be unbalanced.
There was some crazy stuff in Warhammer. Like, I remember I played a sorceress in Warhammer, and if you didn't manage your spells right, if you cast too many spells too fast, they would blow up on you and do a bunch of damage back to you. I could just imagine in development proposing that to people who are watching at this level and going, "Yeah, the sorcerer, the caster for their faction, if they cast too much, it's going to blow up and kill them." They would probably go batty over it. That's a terrible idea. Completely unbalanced. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It was fun. It was fun. And this is the sort of thing where, because they don't have investors, they don't have to appeal to 10 million people. They can say the 200,000 people we're aiming for like this sort of, unbalanced gameplay. And not unbalanced in a bad way, but it doesn't have to be so boring and vanilla and sort of stuff. So,
And also, I think on the balancing issue, we don't know how they're gonna balance things because we have no experience of a purely PvP game. Balancing has also always been an issue because you have to balance both sides, the PvE and PvP. So you have to think about the PvE not making abilities hit hard enough to be viable in PvE, but not hard enough to be a one-shot kill or too unbalanced in PvP. When you don't have to think about the PvE, I think balancing classes will be easier anyway.
I agree. That's a good point because, you take World of Warcraft, which everybody knows. If, let's say, you had an Alliance character who was really tanky, they make all the dungeons easy because they're super tanky, and then Horde, it's more difficult. You can't do that. They have to be close enough where they can do the same dungeon and have a balance. Here, we don't have to worry about it. You can have someone who's really tanky but doesn't do damage, and the other, it opens up a lot of options to be different, which I think is a lot of fun.
And also, I think what we also forget a lot for those who complain about the unbalanced and the difference between factions is they talked about each class is going to have a counter.
Right.
So you will have, even if you're tanky as shit, you might have a class, for example, like the TDD, that can come in, do damage, ignoring all your armor.
Yeah, they poison you.
Go out.
Your armor doesn't matter. You're sick
Exactly.
and you're dying. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's gonna be also counters to all the classes. That's why also making them non-mirrored is gonna be easier because you're gonna have counters different ways for different classes. So that makes it even, I think, more interesting to fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that this game isn't balanced for 1v1 or a 2v2 arena. This is balanced warfare style, my realm versus your realm as a whole, right? My whole group, whatever it's 6 people or 8 people. So, a lot of people, I'm worried that people will look at this and say, oh, it's not balanced. Oh, the races are different. The classes are different. And they don't realize when you get 40 or 50, 60 people on each side, a lot of that stuff doesn't matter anymore, right?
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I like it. I think it's good. It reminds me of Dark Age of Camelot, which I really love because in that game, each side was known for sort of a different sort of play style already. We have something else I want to look into. I think that a lot of people will like, not really controversial, but before we get into that, any other Velik, any ideas, comments on the balance issue? Anything
Not
else?
really that I haven't already said. I agree with your last point that you have to look at this on a large scale versus large scale. And it brings up entirely different balance questions that people have already been asking and mentioning issues with. Like when you're talking about a huge, instead of 1v1, you're talking about realm v realm, AoEs become a much bigger
Right.
issue. It becomes a huge issue of how you balance those out so that it's not completely OP. And different types of abilities. Like we know that there are these wall spells and stuff. How does that balance out? Versus, do different factions have different types of wall spells?
Right.
How does that really work out? So I think things like that are the bigger issue that we really can't even deal with until we know more about the game anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's good news is they're starting to give us some more information. I feel like they're starting to ramp some stuff up, giving us some more stuff. One cool thing, I'm going to start playing it now. You can see on screen here. It's a video they just came out with just a day or two ago about animations. And Chris and Velik, you both got to see this, right? It's a pretty awesome video. This here, I mean, is the lead animator, Scott Trolin, and they talk about not only is it animations, hey, look how pretty it is, but it's also they talk about why they're doing it the way they're doing it, all the stuff that's involved. Chris, tell me a little bit about the video and what we're looking at here.
Well, they showed examples of the different animations for a melee character in the video, but they were not just showing the videos. They were also talking about the way they thought about the animations, how they wanted it to play in world, and how they want to make the players actually pay attention to that. And that's what I really loved, because first, it's not just the look that you have all your weapons on you and not just popping out of
that
nowhere
right there,
when you equip them.
We could just stop right on
That's
that.
just
How many games have you seen where somehow
None.
a giant two-handed hammer gets pulled out of this guy's butt crack? It's like, where did that thing come from?
Exactly.
I've always wanted, like, show me the weapons I'm using. Like, I remember I read this book, the Sword of Truth series, and there's a guy in it, a warden.
Yeah.
And they talk about this guy, how he has, like, a mace and a sword and a shield, and he's this cool
Chase.
dude. Yeah, Chase. And I'm like, I wish I
Exactly.
could see that. And we're looking at this video here, and the guy's got a spear, he's got a shield, he's got a big, like, two-handed sword, he's got a
Looks
regular
awesome.
sword, and it
Yeah, he
looks
does.
awesome.
He actually looks like a warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Chris, you were just talking about how it's not just an animation, like it looks pretty, but it helps you with gameplay. I look at that guy and I see he doesn't have a shield on his back. He's got two one-handed swords and a two-handed axe. I know that
Exactly.
guy's damage focused. That changes your whole perception in the way the game's played.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
think
also,
one of the-
you have to pay attention to the animations as well, because the animations will give you cues as to what type of damage it's going to do, where it's going to come from, what area of your body, because we'll have localized damage, what area of your body it's going to hit, and things like that. That helps you counter all that.
I think that's one of the biggest things about this is that these animations aren't set. They're not static animations. They're dynamic animations that change based on how the guy's standing. Is he turning this way? It's going to change. It has a different lower animation from the different upper animation. Is he attacking your legs? The animation is going to change to actually show he's attacking your legs instead of just being like, oh, he's stabbing. He's stabbing. And now I've got a bleed effect that he hamstrung me somehow. No, you're going to see him come down and go whoosh, and attack your legs or do whatever he's doing. So the animation, depending on how the ability itself is customized in the ability customizer, the abilities are going to be dynamic. They're going to change, and so you'll have to actually watch that, which is one reason I've always really liked the idea of this slower combat system the game's supposed to have, because you'll have time to see people, rearing back and getting ready to like stab you in the leg or something, and you can be like, oh, do I need to do something about that really quick? Is there anything I can do? And you have. I mean, it's not going to be like a long time you have to do something about it, but you've got you've got like a second or two to really quick go, do I do this? Is there something I can do? Do I run away? I don't know.
Well, I mean, up until now, we've really had to basically use our imagination, right? Someone attacks you and it's like, oh, they hit me in my leg and I'm snared. Like, not really. It's the same animation. They just swung in the air and, oh, you know what I mean? Now we get to see, like, they show in the video where he holds up his shield and he goes, like, over top of his shield trying to jab you in the head. And he's actually aiming for your head. And if he hits you in the head, maybe you get knocked out. Maybe you get a concussion. Maybe it stops your casting animation, right? But if he wants to go for the leg, like you guys are talking about, he actually, I mean, it actually aims for your leg. It's not just we don't just have to imagine they're doing it. He aims for your leg, and now it's like, oh no, this guy I'm fighting keeps attacking my head over and over and over. He's obsessed with, you know what I mean? And then you can defend yourself.
He's just poking me through the eye.
Yeah, he's trying to hit me. Maybe it's a 1% chance to hit you through your helmet and your eyeball, but that's what he's going for. And if he does it, I'm dead. Like. It's pretty awesome,
and it absolutely looks cool. Like, I love how this shield and spearman, it keeps showing the animation for that. I love how that looks. It makes me just want to run back to Order Veritas and be like, all right, all the warriors, you have to have shields and spears. I said so. We're forming a unit.
Shield wall.
Yeah, seriously.
Shield wall. Just like that.
We're gonna be Spartans
think about Viking. No, but in Viking in the TV show. You see them at some point doing the shield wall.
Yeah. And
you have that row of shield with the spears in front. It's like the Romans attacking. They're turtling up and attacking. It's just, it looks impressive.
And there's so many animations.
That's going to also have an impact on the battle. If you have 10 people, a row of warriors with their shield and their spears, you're not going to attack mindlessly like a Zerg. Because you won't be able to break that, because also with the dynamics and the physics, they will stop you.
Right.
They will stop your charge.
And they just showed.
It's beautiful. I'm just looking at it.
They just showed on. If you guys are watching the stream, they just showed there. It was like a whole list. It was a bunch of stuff. They have hundreds of animations to combine together, and here's some more that they're working on. They had a guy walking with a bow. I thought looked amazing with the bow. So much stuff going together. And Chris, like you're talking about, you can do that. You can have the shield wall with spears, and it's actually it actually works different than in other games, right? Like other games, you could have a bunch of people standing there and they're going to attack you and come. But if you see a shield wall, they're taking less damage. They're harder to move. They have a longer range with their spear. It actually has implications where those guys I don't want to attack. These guys to the side, they just got a couple two-handed swords. Let's go attack them. It's way easier to charge them than this shield wall. It actually makes a difference.
It does. And even if, to go back to the first subject, even if the TDE are not as tanky, I'm sorry, but if I see a shield wall of fear bogs in front of me, I may be as tanky as shit. I'm not going to run into that.
No way. You're just going to get... It's like a porcupine.
I may be Arthurian in full... I may be Arthurian in full plate armor. I'm not going to run head on that thing.
Right. I'm going to need a different commander. We need a different strategy here. This is not...
catapult.
Right. And I think a lot of us are so excited about this, not only because it looks cool, and it's like, up until now for a lot of games, we've had to just make it up in our mind and imagine it. And it's great to actually see it in game. This has kind of been one of those things that has turned people off from the game a little bit, right? They've spent a couple of years making the engine, the stuff they've shown so far. They've said it 100,000 times, but people forget this has been really an engine sort of alpha tech. They've been working up to this. This isn't the stuff. So now we finally get to see, like, this looks really good. And if we combine all the awesome stuff we've been hearing, hundreds of people on screen, 60 FPS, destroyable environments, building your keeps, and you combine it with these animations that look good, that you can have multiple weapons on your body, you can use a sword and a spear. It's like it's coming together, right? People are getting excited about the game again.
It's getting to a point where people are used to seeing games. People over the last couple of years have been really accustomed to seeing games in really like a beta state,
right?
In a state where most of the features are in the game. Even for other games like Crowfall, I mean, they already have the engine made, so they start at this point. They pretty much start at this point designing these types of things for the game, and so people see that from the very beginning. And with this, they have to hammer all these mechanics together in the systems before they can even touch and start implementing these animations. So then people see they see the placeholders. They see the
Right.
things that they just put there just to test things out, and they're like, "Oh, this is rough. This doesn't look good. This is terrible.
Right.
This is awful.
And we talked about it before
The clouds
stream.
are ugly."
Right. Well, it's hard. Can you really blame people? Because every other game we've seen,
I do.
I've alpha tested, I've also alpha tested Guild Wars 2, ESO, a bunch of other games a year before launch, right? A whole year.
Yeah.
And in that year, nothing really changes. There's some bug fixes and stuff, but animations don't change, abilities don't really change, right? So when we look at this game and we see it, it's like, oh, that's basically what it's going to look like, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but it's not. This stuff is changing. We also have, I want to show you here, this was a picture they just released. You're talking about the Furbong. This is the male one. This is a concept, and not even a concept. This is actual modeling. This is what it would look like in game, basically.
I am the fence.
This is a dark, gruesome-looking dude. This thing, you think
I love how pretty it looks.
it is so gritty. You think about Tuatha De Danann and these
Very colorful.
tree-hugging elves in the forest. These guys are no joke. These guys are serious business.
He is very gritty looking. He has, if you look really close, he has a lot of little colors and in there around the eyes and stuff, which is why it kind of makes me laugh because it looks a little bit like makeup. But aside from that, it is very tough looking.
He's TDD. I'm not even surprised he has makeup.
Right.
If you
right.
look at it, if you don't zoom in too
I
close,
think it's actually elves' daily activities to actually put makeups on all the other races.
right. So you combine
that's
that.
what the Lutrapan do.
Right. And then we also got this picture recently as well. This is some updated stuff. By no means finished, but compared to what we've seen from the previous alpha, this is some sweet looking terrain just on the wall there. They've been working on the mountains and how that's created. It's looking a lot better.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And so I know people all the time, everyone will say, oh, it's all about gameplay. As long I'll play a stick figure as long I want gameplay. I'll say gameplay is most important. But if it can look great too, if you can give me gameplay with these animations, I mean, that's exciting. And we're starting to see that put together here.
Yeah,
They also-
I mean, it is all about
actually-
gameplay, but I'm not going to play something for hours if it's ugly.
Right.
I will
exactly.
play it
Yeah,
a little bit,
I
but if it's hideous, I'm not going to play it forever. I'm going to go, yeah, sure, I'll play for 5 hours, then I'm done. If I'm going to, you want me to play, sink 50 hours in this game, it needs to be pretty. And I saw that terrain picture, and I immediately felt like I was kind of going into like Skyrim or something. I was like, this looks much better.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
looking
nice.
much better.
Yeah, it does.
And it's also
pretty, it's
gameplay. It also gives you gameplay, again, with these animations. It's something I want to talk about because other games out there, you talk about like Crowfall, you talk about MOBAs, they have set animations, right? So when they execute this ability, whether it's a stun or a charge, it looks the same every single time, okay?
Yep.
So then when you're playing that, you can learn to recognize that move and know what's coming. So then you have this gameplay of like, oh, I see what's happening, I see what move they're doing, and I know what's going on.
Yep.
Instead of having to like read through your chat or whatever, right? So I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea. You know what I mean?
Of actually paying attention to the
Right.
the animations.
So
Yeah.
here, this is like the same thing, but it's the same idea that you have to pay attention, but they're executing a different way. The animation,
say-
doesn't look the same every time, but you know, last time I fought this, you know, giant, and he tried to hit me in the head and stun me, and now I'm fighting this other guy, and he's trying to, you know what I mean? Like, you can.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like PVE mechanics in a certain fashion in PvP. Because whereas in a raid, you would see a boss and he's like rearing back and going, "I'm gonna do my big ol' attack,"
Right.
and you're all like, "Oh no, get out of the circle." It's gonna be the same thing. You're gonna be standing there. The guy rears back with his hammer. He's like, "Huh," and you're like, "Oh, I'm backing up."
Right, everybody. You
I'm
see,
getting out of his face.
I'm getting the shit out of here.
Yeah,
You see
or the
that
mage
giant
starts
fur
getting
bomb.
ready to do his AOE, and you're like, "Everybody move, back up."
exactly. So you may not even know what the ability is because there's so many animations. You may not have it memorized, but you see that giant furbog, right, with this giant two-handed hammer, and you see him going, and he's gonna exactly like you said. You're like, I want to get away from that. I don't know what's happening. But I'm running away from that. Just like we were talking about with the shield wall, right? I don't know the specs of how much damage it does compared to a guy with a shield and a sword, but I know it's a bad idea if I run straight at that. So definitely good stuff. I'm excited about the animations. I'm excited about what they're doing. We've been getting some more information. I mean, these pictures, these animations, these just came out this week. So they're ramping it up. They're giving us more and more information. Not only that, if you go to their Vine, they have new videos all the time on there. I mean, there's some some kind of
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
they
Yeah, they go
showed
through spurts.
actually the water the other
Tide.
day about
The
the
tide
tides.
moving in and out.
Yeah,
They showed
Pretty nice.
video about how they test their collision. It was like a whole mountain range of stairs. It looked horrendous. It looked like the scariest thing I've ever seen. I would never want to see in real life because it was like, let me try to find. It was like a thousand stairs. It was like 1,000 stairs.
yeah.
But go check that out. Go check out their Vine. You can see they have updates all the time. But we're ramping it up. And we still don't know. They've had to delay the game again, unfortunately. But they're putting more
Well, not
out
again
there.
since a couple weeks ago.
Well, they did
but-
the original one, and then
Yeah,
they
a
just
couple
did this
weeks
one. So they've had a second delay. So unfortunately, we don't know when the game's coming out, but they're working on it. They're getting closer. And
They're coming out with great looking stuff.
I know.
I think that's the important thing is they're putting it out there, and we're seeing some of this cool animation stuff. And one thing is, I mean, I don't know how long they've been working on the animations and but like that character art, they just got new artists like what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, they
3
just
weeks
hired-
ago? So
he's
now
been-
they're
Yeah,
starting to put
just-
up this new character art. It's like they just got these new artists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a couple of weeks ago when they actually announced the delay, they had just hired them and they were starting a week after that. So it is pretty new and they already put them to work and they're already producing amazing stuff.
yeah, I
They
mean,
just
they
stand
have.
behind them with a whip. Produce content for our updates.
Yeah, I mean, there was the new Frost Giant they were working on. They got this guy here, the new animations. This here, let me rearrange that for you folks so you can see this.
That furball guy is looking in the camera going, "You want to lose your pants?"
Right. I mean, this is what I was just talking about a second ago. Here, I mean, this is. I don't know what they're testing. Andrew Meggs, he's got 1,000 sets of stairs. He's
More
running
blocks.
around. I mean, I could imagine being in game and playing this would be the worst part.
Somebody's
ever.
gonna make that in game now.
Someone
When the
could.
game comes out, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna make that and be
They
like,
could.
"Attack me now."
Here's some walls and stuff they're working on. I
I
mean,
wouldn't even. I would just stand there with a catapult and just be like, let's just tear that down. We're not even gonna do anything today. We're
Yeah.
just destroying that.
yeah, I mean, just in general though, they're coming out with more stuff. I think we're all excited for that. We want to see more, and what they put out looks really good. It's pretty awesome so far. You guys did a great job last week talking about stealth and information. If you haven't seen that, everybody go check that out. It's on the YouTube, episode number 16. And let me ask you guys, what are you looking forward to now? We got some new information. What's the next thing you're really excited for?
More class info.
Still the same races.
He wants race info. I want class info.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
Right, and we got one. It was the Drenger. It was huge. They talked about it
Yeah.
for a couple of hours, a presentation, and then a Q&A Mark did. It's on their YouTube, City State. They even said that we're supposed to get some new information soon, talking about classes, which I think is exciting. So yeah, I'm excited. I think races or classes are one of. I think probably classes. I'm most excited for classes.
I want info on both. I really just want enough faction-related information for people to be able to decide which faction they want to go on.
Yes,
Because there's still a bunch of people that are on the fence. It's a little bit selfish for me because since I run Ordo Veritas, I want people to be able to go, I want to play Arthurian, and I want to join guilds, and then we can get more
Right,
people.
right.
And hang out and play games and talk about stuff. But so it's a little bit selfish, but I also want to know. And there's a lot of people just kind of on the fence sitting there going, I don't know which faction I want to play because I need more class info or race info. And so I'm like, that's just what I want. I want them to know. I want to know. I want them to know. And then everybody can just pick what they want to do, at least roughly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to know more about classes. I think it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I think that's it this week. Any final thoughts, Velvet, Chris? Anything you wanted to review?
I can't wait for new infos. I'm just glad.
We just
really
got a bunch of
glad-
info.
We
You're so
always
greedy.
hunger.
You're so greedy, Chris. You're so-
Yes. But,
The problem is
I'm
they
just
give you new
glad
info.
They're actually finally, really communicating intensively with us, and that's really good news. Because the problem was before was not the game; it was the lack of info, the lack of communication with the players and the backers. And now they're actually communicating and giving us, even if it's small things, they're giving us infos and things to look at and to look forward to. little by little, and that's really awesome.
Morsels of info.
Yeah. What about you, Velik?
I
Final
want more
thoughts?
tasty little morsels of info like he does, but I also got blog posts to write for Realms Unchained. So, but really, I do. I mean, I'm really excited for where we're at now, and I'm really excited for some of the stuff that they've come out with the animations, and I do want the class info because
Yeah.
that's my main thing. I really think that's something good to know, just to see where we're going, not what they necessarily have for sure right now, but where their intent, where the path they want to walk is,
Yeah.
so that we can
Yeah.
project. We can go ahead and start predicting things, and we can waste hours with idle speculation.
Right. Right.
We can easily.
Well, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for classes, obviously. I'm curious, Chris, you didn't bring it up at all, but I'm curious how these animations are going to look with crafters. Are you going to have a shovel and a hammer and all this stuff on your character? No, you don't get to say anything.
Dark hair.
This is my... I think that's going to be exciting to see how this transitions into everything else. I want to start to see it in game, right? We've got this footage that they showed months ago from what they had. The animations are looking great once they get that in. The terrain is going to look way better. Destruction that they've been showing recently. I want to see those things in game. So then I can start to say this is the game that I'm excited about, because I think there's a lot to be excited about, and they're working on it. We just haven't got to see it all yet. So I want to put it together. I want to put all the pieces together. I just want to play the game. That's what I'm excited for. I want the game.
Yep.
Mark Jacobs, can you just put the game out already? Jeez. No.
This is the game you're looking for.
Right. No,
Exactly.
I think it's awesome. I think we're all excited for it. It's looking really good.
I also want to see funding completed for stealth.
Stealth? Yeah.
Yes.
So you open your wallets
Yes.
up and
I'm sure. I have no doubt.
take my money.
No doubt that that's going to work. That's it this week for us on the Veilcast, everybody. Episode 17. We'll be back 2 weeks from today. Remember, every other week we start at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday at twitch.tv/itsiz. And of course, you can watch the replay on YouTube. Thank you, Chris and Velik. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
See you.